Good afternoon. How are we all? So I have to apologise. I haven't been live recently for a little while, and I've been a little bit quiet on social media. There's been a few things going on in the background for me, which has meant that I have been otherwise disposed. So I am hoping now to get back into a rhythm. So I today want to give you 3 hot tips in terms of ways of increasing your cash flow. Right now, I am speaking to a number of businesses that are really feeling the pinch in relation to cash flow, where they are having a massive knock-on effect in relation to customers, clients not paying them. And what's usually happening is effectively it's a domino effect where, you know, further down the chain, the clients are not paying them, so then the suppliers aren't then able to pay their suppliers, and so on and so forth. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, I myself have been feeling this impact where, you know, my clients, you know, they are waiting on payments from you know, from their clients, and it is at this time that I definitely would say that there is a noticeable change in the economy in terms of small businesses. I'm hearing of more and more small businesses that are closing down, particularly in the high streets. And there just really is a real shift for businesses right now. And this is where right now it is so important to make sure that you are in control of your cash flow. And the thing is I see so frequently with businesses that they are not keeping on top of their numbers, and as a result of not keeping on top of their numbers, they don't know when money is owed to them, so therefore they're not actually chasing that money when they should be. So here are my 3 top tips in relation to increasing your cash flow. Number 1, you need to ensure you have efficient invoicing and payments. And what I'm talking about is when you know, depending on what your payment terms are, 1, have very clear payment terms that your clients are fully aware of. If you take payment up front, make sure it's very clear and you get that before the work has even started. But also if the payment, you know, you take payment after, or you pay they pay the remainder, make sure it's clear. And as soon as you finish that job, on the day of or the day after, an invoice is ultimately issued, making it clear. Make sure that your payment terms are not long. You know, I see time and time again where businesses have payment terms that are 30, 60, 90 days. You can't work like that, particularly if payments are being delayed anyway. You don't want to wait to the 30th day and people are like, we can't still pay you. So really, I would say it's either payment on receipt, 7 days, or 14 days is really the longest wherever possible. Now, I do appreciate if you're working with bigger corporations, often what happens is you have less control over what those payment terms are, but wherever possible, maximum of 14 days, wherever possible, on receipt or 7 days, right? Also offer early payment discounts wherever possible. So if they pay you within a set period of time that's before the payment terms, you know, for example, you might have a 14-day payment term, but if they pay you within the 7 days of the invoice being issued, you provide a discount. A lot of trade suppliers do that. I know, for example, one of my clients that I've worked with, their carpet and sort of flooring supplier would often give an early payment, early discount rate. Think about what other ways in which you can receive payment from your customers. Are they only paying you by bank transfer? Try, if you can, avoid payment by cash. I appreciate, particularly if you're in shops, cash at the moment, there's a whole big thing out there in terms of saying about, you know, you don't want cash dying. Then make sure that, you know, that you have options where you can take card payment. The thing is you don't even necessarily have to have, for a service based, you don't have to have a merchant terminal. You can take card payment through something like Stripe. Yes, not necessarily the cheapest in terms of their fees, but it is easy, it's convenient, you don't have to have a terminal, right? Then we've got, in terms of tip number 2, your expense management. How often are you reviewing your expenses in the business and seeing where they can be trimmed down? See whether you can negotiate better terms with your suppliers, and optimize your office space and your overhead costs wherever possible. So, think about, do you need, for example, when I had the law firm, I was in at one point this massive, great big office space. I'd had this big growth plan in mind, and in reality, I didn't need probably even a fifth of what I had. And I ended up moving to smaller premises, and I moved again into even smaller premises. So is it a way in which you need that office space? Or if you're in a good deal in terms of, or you can't get out of the agreement you've got, can you potentially sublet some of that space to another business, or allow hot desking? Make the most of the office space that you've got in terms of trying to cut those expenses down. Then your third tip is, it's all about your sales growth in terms of, could you expand your service offering? So, for example, in my business at the moment, I am actually in the processes of implementing some new services, because I can see that so many businesses right now need my help. They can't necessarily manage the monthly retainer, or they can't manage the online program cost, but they desperately need some support. So I am now putting into place new packages which will, are a lower level, so that businesses can get the support they need, because ultimately right now this is where you need me more than ever. So consider what potential service offerings you could adjust, what you could either cut back in terms of what the fee is, although I tend to discourage that. What I would suggest is, in terms of an existing service, you keep the price the same or potentially increase it, but then bring in other service offerings that might not necessarily be at the same level, but are at a lower cost to help your clients. One of the things that I talk about this on such a frequent basis is invest in targeted marketing. So often I am seeing businesses where they're posting on social media and it's so generic, and it's not aiming at specific businesses or specific target audiences. So you need to know, and I bang on about this a lot, you need to know who your ideal client is, your target audience, and make sure that you are tapping into that and thinking about the marketing activities that are relevant specifically to your target audience. Something I hear quite often is clients will say to me, well, I've tried that, Sarah, it didn't work. Well, often these things don't work because you haven't actually done the strategy behind the scenes first. And that is looking at things like your ideal client, the actual message that you're trying to put across. So invest in targeted marketing. And I tell you, your cash flow will improve, because you'll then get better quality leads and therefore better quality sales and customers in the door. And of course, this goes without saying, and this may sound an indirect link, but it is important, is deliver exceptional service, but do it also for to be able to get repeat business and referrals. So provide that exceptional service. And you think, well, hang on a second, how does this link with cash flow? It links because what you want to do is you want to be building raving fans of you, so that they then will refer people to you. And if you keep providing an exceptional service, you will then gain even more raving fans, who will ultimately then bring you sales. And I tell you what, it is a lot easier to convert people who have been referred than if you're doing things like cold outreach and in terms of getting cold leads that you haven't even warmed up. Whereas if you've got somebody who's been raving about you, saying how awesome your service is, and you provide such great value, they're more likely to convert into a client than somebody who's coming completely cold, right? So just to wrap up, 3 key ways in which I am saying to you about increasing your cash flow. Number 1, increase in terms of efficient invoicing and payment terms. Number 2, your expense management. Number 3, it's all about your, in terms of your sales, sales growth and customer retention. Now, if you want any help in relation to any of these things, and if you are struggling in terms of getting the cash in at the right time, then make sure that you have a chat with me, book in a strategy session, and I can see how I can help you. And I can potentially help you on a much lower cost basis with all the new packages that I am bringing out soon. So you never know, there might be something in that mix that could really benefit your business and get that support that you so desperately need right now. Because one of the things when I'm speaking to my clients, that, you know, 2 things that they say about me when they're working with me is, 1, I'm relatable. So I have been through the pains that you've been through, and to a certain degree, I'm still going through some of those pains. I'm still learning in my own business. As I've said this time and time again, is any business coach who turns around and tells you they know everything, I'd run a mile, because in my view, you are always constantly learning. The other thing is the fact that, you know, I'm talking about real life experience, and I won't teach you anything that I wouldn't be prepared to do in my own business or I'm not doing myself. So if you would really like to gain some help, let's book a free strategy session with me, and let's see how we can help you stabilize in the current economy and basically thrive in what could be deemed a really difficult time. So thank you guys for listening. Make sure you get yourself booked in for a free strategy session. I will put a link in the comments. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you very soon. Take care.